Hello everybody, I'm here today to teach you how to make a skybox in Unreal Engine 5. So the first step you want to do is download an HDRI image. I used Polyhaven. They have awesome HDRIs, textures, models, all kinds of other things. This is not sponsored, by the way. So once you have your HDRI imported, go ahead and double click on it. Navigate over to the right side of the screen that pops up. We're going to change our MIP gen settings from texture group to no MIP maps. Now from there, we're going to play with our maximum texture size. So this is really like to get some crispness in your image. So for the sake, because our image is 496 pixels big, go ahead and punch in 496 into that box right there. And then you also want to make sure in your compression settings that it is set to HDR, not anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, and we can close it. So from here, we'll right click, make a new material, and I will name this Skybox Matte. Name it whatever you want, just as long as you can recognize what it is. And then we'll go ahead and double click to open it. So from here, we're going to come over and navigate to the left side. We're going to check the box that says two-sided. And then for the shading model, we will do unlit. So from here, you've noticed that I haven't made my tab here full screen. So I'm going to click and drag the HDRI image into my event graph. And you'll see if I just connect this up to the emissive color, we get an error. It needs UV maps in order to properly render, which is what we're going to take care of here in just a moment. So now that we have our HDRI imported, we're going to come over here to the search box and type in sky. You'll see this thing pop up that says is sky. You're going to want to turn that on, or check that box, whatever you want to say. So from here, we are going to right click and search world position. And I'm just going to drag this down here. And for now, we'll click it into UVs, and you should start to see some changes. We're not anywhere close to done yet. So from here, we'll right click on our UV that we imported and convert it to a parameter and name it texture skybox. So that way we know what we are looking at. So then from here, we will right click and search rotate, if I can type, rotate about axis. From the rotate about axis, we're going to hold down 3 on the keyboard and left click. Look at this lovely little 000 thing. I don't know what it's called actually. I'm going to call it this. You guys know what I'm talking about. And we'll connect that to normalized rotation axis. So then over on the left side of our screen, we'll go down to material expression constant 3 vector. That's a mouthful. Click on our constant and change B to 1. So basically what we're going to be doing now and for the next little section of this video is making it so we can adjust the settings of our skybox, exposure, the rotation, things like that. So you'll see I've also attached this 3-prong whatever to the normalized rotation axis input. That is important. So now we're going to hold down 1 on the keyboard and left click to create this little thing. Again, I don't know what it's called, but then we're going to click and drag and connect it to the pivot point input. So now we're going to create a constant by holding down S and left clicking, and we will name this rotation. So then from there, we will actually make a divide. So we will hold down D and left click, and we're going to attach our rotation into the A input. And then again, we're going to hold down 1 and left click. And in the value area, we're going to put in a 100. And then we're going to connect this to the B input. And then we will connect the divide node to the rotation angle input of the rotate about axis. So from here, we're actually going to connect our absolute world position into the position input. And we're going to break the link with our UVs right here. So now we're going to create an add node by holding down A and left clicking. So from here, we will drag our rotate about axis node into the A input in the absolute world position into the B input. I'm going to make a little bit more space here. And from the add node, we will plug it into the UVs. So now you're going to start to see some more things changing. So then from here, and again I'm just going to make a bit more space, we're going to create a multiply node by holding down M on the keyboard and left clicking, and attaching our RGB node into the A input. Well, RGB input into the A input, whatever. And then we're going to create a float parameter by holding down S and left clicking. And we're going to name this exposure. And we're going to set our default value for exposure to 1. And then from here, we will connect it into the B input. And then finally, we will connect the multiply node into the emissive color input. And we will go ahead and save this. So now that we have our event graph set up, we will close our little window. We will come back into our lovely third-person editor. I'm going to right-click and create a material instance. Leave that be for now. And then I'm going to come in and bring in a sphere. And I'm going to center this so the world by going 0, 0, 0. And then I will click and drag the instance onto the sphere, and you'll notice that it's gone invisible. We will fix that in just a moment. And then I have my scale locked. I'm going to scale this bad boy up to 500 for the purpose of this video. So you'll notice if I look around, things aren't quite there yet, and that's because we need to add a skylight into our scene. Doesn't matter where it is, just needs to be there. So in our skylight, we'll come down here. You'll see this box called real-time capture. We're going to turn that on. Actually, we need to go back to our sphere and change its mobility to movable. Change it to movable. So from here, you'll notice if we rotate about the screen, our skybox isn't quite there yet, and that's because we still have the default skybox turned on in Unreal. So I'll navigate to my lighting folder here in the outliner box, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off the volumetric clouds, the sky sphere, and I believe the old skylight, the old sky atmosphere, and the exponential height fog. And there we have it. We now have a giant dome that we can position different things in. This is obviously not a good example, but like let's say I took this floor away and now there's these 3 rectangular prisms sitting in this grassy field. So once you have your skybox set up, you can double click on the instance and you can see over here on the right hand side of the pop-up window we can check exposure and rotation, and I'm going to kind of move this out of the way so we can see a little bit of our third-person editor, but I can crank the exposure way up or way down to get something a little bit more moody or different. I'm going to change that back to 1 just for the time being, and we can also rotate our skybox around, and you can see on our pop-up window the sun actually moves around with rotation, which lets us know that it is rotating. And that's what all that jumbled mess was that we did in the event graph was for. And that's how you do a skybox. Thanks for watching.